Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to today's not Friday reflections. Sorry, a bit tired. Welcome to today's Sohbet and Dhikr on this Thursday, the 11th of March, 2021. I hope everybody is well, wherever you're watching this from. And apologies about the late start today. I know this is not the time that I normally start this, and I do apologize about that. But we had an event earlier this evening where we had two former extremists discussing their lives and also discussing with the participants and answering questions. And it was a really good meeting that we had from the Association of British Muslims. And that only finished like about 15 minutes or so before I was due to start my Sohbet. So it's one of the things, but alhamdulillah, I mean, it's good. It's good that we have this facility. It's good that we have the ability to hold these meetings at all on Zoom. And whether these meetings were the Dhikr or for the one we had earlier. And alhamdulillah for technology in that respect. But here we are. Yesterday, many people were marking the Al-Isra wal-Miraj, the night journey of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. I think some people are doing it today, depending upon how they calculate the calendar. Of course, Allah knows best with these things. And this is, of course, a very important event within the history of Islam, when the Prophet Muhammad miraculously traveled to Jerusalem and then ascended through the heavens into the divine presence. After praying with all the prophets in Jerusalem and meeting other prophets on the way up to the heavens. Very amazing event in the history of Islam. And one which, you know, some people, they do ask questions about. It's hard sometimes for people to understand. Because, you know, especially today with our scientific mindset, people don't necessarily grasp what actually happened. And even in the time of the Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there were people that didn't understand then either. And they questioned the Prophet Muhammad on this. So this is understandable. But at the same time, it depends how we perceive this existence, which we're all a part of. If we perceive things to be very physical, that this body is physical, that this is us, and that all the things around us are very physical and rigid in how they are, then it becomes more difficult to understand things which don't fit this paradigm. But even scientists operating within this reality have found that not everything is as it seems. That when you get down to the quantum level, matter does not behave as you would expect matter to behave. That particles sometimes behave like particles, and at other times like a wave of energy. And it's not like rigid how they expect. Now, we should reflect on these things and not assume that any one of us knows all there is to know about reality. And that's not to say that we should accept everything either that people say, or even that is within our traditions. But at the same time, we need to realize the limits of our own knowledge, the limits of our own understanding. And there are, never mind things which happened 1400 years ago or before that. There are things which happen today within our lifetime. Sometimes they may be to us. Other times they may not be. But there are people in this world who report very, very strange things happening. And they find it very difficult to explain. Now, that's not to say that there isn't an explanation, but the fact that these things are still being reported in our modern scientific age, strange things that happen which are difficult to understand. And it's true, some of these things, they are tested with science, and there are other explanations that crop up. And that's good. That is good. We should question things. We should have that kind of mind that we reflect and we think and we try to find explanations for things. But what's interesting is even after we've found explanations for many things, there are still events that elude explanation. Even today, with all the development of science over the centuries, all the development of science over the past century, which has been phenomenal. I mean, you look, just this, I'm talking to you now through Zoom, Facebook Live, and Instagram. We're not in the same room, and yet you can see my image on your screen as if I'm in the same room with you. Whether that's on a phone, which doesn't even have any wires or anything connected to it, or whether it's on a computer screen. And this is all happening through the internet. Now, as I was discussing with my daughter only the other day, back when I first started using the internet, it was at university. And it was not very fast. Even the university connection wasn't very fast back in 1997. And at some point after that, within a few years or so, I managed to get internet in my home, dial-up. Wasn't broadband, it was dial-up. You literally had to use an old-fashioned type phone and an old-fashioned type phone connection and plug it into a modem slot in the back of your computer. And if you picked up the phone when it connected to the internet, you would hear all these funny sounds going through the telephone line that were from the computer. And for all that, the connection was, if you had a good connection line, you know, it was only good enough to load up text pages and very, very grainy images that often would take time to load up. Now, you click on a page on the internet and all the words come up and the images all at once. It just loads and it's there. When I first started using the internet, those pictures themselves would just like scroll line by line until eventually the whole picture was there. And that would happen for all the other pictures in the page. Now that usually happens instantaneously, even on mobile phones. I mean, this is the pace of technological change within only about 20 years. That's really astonishing when you think about it. And not only are the images loading up clearly now, but I can talk to you through Zoom, and I'm simultaneously broadcasting here 2 channels through my broadband connection, one through Instagram and one through Zoom that's going live on Facebook. And it's relatively clear and smooth, considering. I mean, this is remarkable. And yet today, especially younger people who are using this, you probably take that for granted. It's just normal. And I'm sounding old saying that, and I'm not. I'm not old at all. But even like, 20 years ago, this would have been like remarkable to be able to do this on a computer. And let alone the virtual background that I've got on my Zoom link. I mean, you would need green screen to do that. And you would need a lot more fancy stuff than just a desktop computer and an internet connection. Technology has really advanced. And yet, even with all these technological and scientific advancements in recent decades, there are still things which happen on this planet which elude scientific explanation. So we should have a little bit of humility. And it's good that things elude our scientific explanation as well, because that gets us thinking, it keeps us investigating. I mean, Allah forbid that we ever know all there is to know, because we would become complacent and arrogant. Not that we ever could, because as there is a tradition which says that if all of the trees were pens and all of the oceans were ink, that they would be exhausted before they finished writing about God. So it's not that we ever could know that there all there is to know, because there isn't enough materials within this world or within this universe to record all there is to know. But and this also, it doesn't matter whether we look out into space, but eventually we reach the limits of our current telescopes and we cannot see beyond that. And even what we can see with existing telescopes, we don't see all that there is that's there. Today, our scientists can detect Earths and other planets that are cycling around stars. They can detect the very faint wobble in that star. Literally, the star wobbles. Because when something goes around it, the actual star itself moves. Even if the planet going around the star is much smaller than the star, they actually dance. And modern telescopes are now able to detect that and detect that there are planets going around those stars. And since this technology has been discovered within the past couple of decades, they've found that countless of these stars in the sky actually have planets around them. They've even got to the point where they can analyze, as that planet passes in front of the star, they can analyze its atmosphere using the light of the star as the light passes through the planet's atmosphere. And they can detect from that something about what that planet is like. You know, whether it has an atmosphere similar to Earth's with oxygen and water and carbon dioxide, or whether it has a methane atmosphere or something else. They can actually detect that. Which, when you look up at the sky and realize that they're doing that with little, what to us, you can't even perceive unless you have these amazing telescopes. All we see are dots in the sky, which may be stars. In some cases, they're actually whole galaxies that are so far away that to us, they just look like a star. Or in the case of Sirius A and Sirius B and Sirius C, they all look like one star. Until you look through telescopes. So it's quite remarkable that scientific advances have got to that point, that we can analyze these things. And this is a great blessing from Allah. Both, I mean, you know, there's another thing that's amazing about this is the fact that when we look up at the night sky, we can actually see the stars. Now, that might surprise you. What are you on about? Of course, we look up at the sky and can see the stars. But that in itself is a miracle. It's a miracle of the fact that the Earth's atmosphere has just the right composition, that it is both thick enough that it can support life and contain oxygen and not let it drift out into space, that it has enough pressure that it can protect us, but at the same time not squash us, like the atmosphere on Venus is so heavy it would just crush anything. Even the metal, very well constructed probes that were sent to Venus, they landed on the surface and were actually crushed flat as a pancake within a relatively short amount of time. I think it was about half an hour. So our atmosphere is not heavy enough that it can do that. I mean, we even forget that actually the air around us is a thing. We can see through it, we move through it with ease, but actually air is a thing. Air is a combination of gases. Yeah, you know, if two people were looking at each other and you asked them what is between them, most people would turn around and say nothing. I can't see anything. There's nothing between us. But there's a lot of air between them. Without that air, we can't breathe. Without that air that we can't see, if it's not there, we will die. We will die quicker than if we didn't have water to drink or food to eat. Bismillah. Without air, we would die in a matter of moments. And yet it seems like it's not there. And it's that enables us to be able to look up at the sky and to see the sky clearly and beautifully. And if you're in a rural area, probably similar to this picture that I've shared on Zoom and on Facebook, where you can see all the stars gloriously against the backdrop of the night sky. If you're in an urban area, unfortunately, as a lot of us are, we cannot see that. We only see a handful of the stars that are really there. But I've looked up at the sky in rural areas and been absolutely astonished how many stars there really are. And it's a miracle that we can actually see that. But we don't think about it. So our sciences, they've advanced a lot. And it's good they're advancing. There's nothing wrong with that. This is a blessing from Allah. The advancement of our sciences has enabled us to do a lot of things that our ancestors in the past wouldn't have been able to do. But however much our sciences advance, it's important that we also keep humility. That we don't let this make us arrogant. In biblical tradition and also within Islam, we have the account of a king who called Nimrud, or Nimrod within the English. And he apparently built a great big tower, a Tower of Babel, which reached up to the heavens, it is said. And this is all symbolic of arrogance. Actually, I mean, if you look at our cities today, how many towers are reaching up to the heavens? Yeah, in the time of Nimrud, just this one tower reaching up to the heavens was something, was an issue. In the biblical tradition, they say that because of it, God confused all the languages of humanity. Like before that, everybody spoke the same language. And God made everybody speak different languages as a way to teach people a bit of humility. Now, Allah knows best. Allah knows best if this is the case. But the story itself is interesting because the Tower of Babel is a symbol of human arrogance, of human ego trying to subvert not just, I was going to say all of humankind, but not just all of humankind, all of creation. There is this urge within human beings to control, to dominate, to subdue others, whether those others are other human beings. Sometimes they can be a particular ethnic group or other ethnic groups, other religions. Sometimes they can be our peers, people from our own community, from our own society, from our own background. Ego knows no bounds. Ego is the tyrant that seeks to dominate and subdue us all, including our own soul. It is our most dangerous enemy. And yet, how little time do we think about this? How little time do we reflect? And this, although there is a great benefit to all our scientific and technological advancement, and I support this. You know, I am not against technology, and I'm not against science. I'm actually deeply fascinated with the sciences. I always have been. But at the same time, there is a danger within the sciences that because they empower us so much, that they can boost our egos up and make us want to dominate and subdue everyone and everything else that we can. And surely this is always the downfall of human beings, which this story of Babel that's in the Bible is there to warn us against. And it's something that our sheikhs, whichever tariqat that we follow, always warn us against. And whichever madhab we follow, the imams of the madhabs always warned us against. Our own inner demons, our own ego, our arrogance, our greed. These are always the biggest downfalls of our human family. And these are the things that our beloved Prophet Muhammad ﷺ warned us against 1400 years ago, and taught us how we can train our egos, that they become a cause for good and not for evil. We don't want to kill our egos, but we do need to train them. Because otherwise, untrained, all of those 7 deadly sins, they will overcome us. We will be filled with vices. We will, little by little, we will be seduced into doing things which are wrong, into taking what doesn't really belong to us, into subduing those who are our equals and our peers, our brothers and sisters in humanity, and even trampling all over the natural world and robbing it of its richness and resources. It all has the same root. It comes from human ego. It comes from human arrogance. It comes from human greed. So we need to have at least a little bit of humility and understand our limits and appreciate everyone else and all the other beings and creatures that we share this planet with. for they all have a part to play in our lives and within existence. If we trample over everyone else, what is left for us? Do we think we win if we do that? Winning is actually when we all work together to create a better environment, a better society for us all to live in. Even if we don't understand everything the same way. Even if we have different religions, different traditions, different cultures. There's no reason why we can't try to understand each other and appreciate these differences and this diversity. But we can only do that if we have a bit of humility. If we think our understanding or our way is the only right way and everybody else is wrong, and we refuse to listen to or appreciate these other views, do we also undermine the one that we are supporting ourselves? We also undermine ourselves. For in the eyes of everybody else, even if we have the power in our hands and can make them be quiet, then we would have no legitimacy. If we trample all over their views, their right to live. And this is something that whoever we are, wherever we're coming from, whether we are scientists, whether we are atheists, whether we are Christians or Muslims or Jews, whatever our background, wherever we're coming from, we have to understand this. And there are people within all of these different communities, all of these different faiths and belief systems who have this attitude where they want to trample upon everybody else. Surely a better way is to have a dialogue and where people sincerely share what they understand and sincerely listen to other people to hear what they understand with the intention to develop our own understanding and to become better human beings, to improve our own understanding. This is surely a better way. And going back to the original point, it's, yes, there are things within all our faith traditions which, when looked at with a scientific worldview, are hard to explain. But that doesn't mean that they never happened. And it doesn't mean that they can't be explained, maybe one day. So it's better to have an open mind and to have a bit of humility. And also, there's different ways of understanding things. And this is something that's always been accepted by scholars within Islam, that there are different ways that you can understand certain things. And sometimes, you know, there's like layers of meaning. With the Quran itself, there are layers of meaning of many of the different ayah within the Quran. And you can understand it one way, but then there's a deeper level of understanding. Not contradictory, but there's deeper levels that we can take this understanding. And it doesn't mean that one way is right or one way is wrong. But I mean, I've discovered this myself when I've gone back to the Quran and I've read verses that At one time, I understood one level of meaning, and then I've gone back to it and realized that in addition to that level of meaning, there are other levels of meaning. And now, that comes with how we grow as human beings and how we understand things. It comes with wisdom, it comes from experience. And if we think that there's only one way of understanding anything, then we can miss all of that. And then we lose the richness of our deen and our spiritual traditions. And we lose the benefits that they bring to us. Our spiritual traditions are like a doorway that opens us up to understanding ourselves and understanding other people. Hopefully, it gives us some insight into Allah and into creation as well, depending upon people's capacity. But this is all very deep, and it's not going to be understood overnight. And some things are not so easy to understand with the mind, but they can be understood with the heart. And it's important to realize that our spiritual traditions are not sciences in the sense of the Western sciences. They don't have that role within our life. And when we realize this, we can see how the different fields of human experience, study, and research can complement each other. And they don't have to be perceived as being opposites or against each other. But we have to have some open-mindedness in our understanding to be able to appreciate that. Anyway, I have been talking for longer than I originally planned. So I hope I haven't bored anyone. If anything I've said is valuable and inspirational to you, then I give thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to my sheikhs. And if there's any mistakes, the mistakes are my own. I would like to start the dhikr now. We check our intentions first. نويت العبين نويت الأستا نويت القوة نويت الاعتكاف نويت السلوك نويت الريادة لله تعالى في هذا جميع. Worship your Lord until He grants you certainty. O Allah, make this our endeavor easy for us and grant us success in that which you love and which pleases you. Make us to be followers of your most noble Sharia and your beloved and chosen Prophet. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Ameen. Peace be upon all emissaries, especially the master of emissaries, Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We begin with the Kalam al-Shahada. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. We seek Allah's forgiveness through the recitation of Astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah, 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 Astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullahalazim alladhi la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum wa atubu ilayh. Innahu huwal tawwabur rahim. Ya musabib al-asbab, ya mufatih al-abwab, ya muqallib qulubi wal-absar, ya dalail al-mutakhairin, ya ghayth al-mustaqayathin, ya hayyu ya qayyum, يا ذو الجلال والإكرام وأفوض أمري إلا إن الله بصير بالعباد. الرابط الشريفة. Direct your heart to the heart of your Shaykh. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. صلوات الشريفة. Blessings upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his noble family. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala آل محمد والسلام اللهم صل على محمد وعلى 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 آل محمد وسلم 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 اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد والسلام 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 اللهم صل على محمد وعلى Ali Muhammadin wassalim Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wala 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 آل محمد وسلم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى 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 آل محمد وسلم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سورة الفاتحة. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين Salawatu Sharif, blessings upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his noble family. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم 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 اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وسلم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل 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 محمد وسلم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم 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 اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي فاديتني من الملك ورمتني من تواريخ حديث فاترة أنت ولي في الدنيا والآخرة توفاني مسلما والإقني بالصالحين أمان بالله صدق الله العظيم سبحان ربك ربي ذات ما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين إلى حضرات النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وآله وأصحابه الكرام وإلى الله أنبياء والمرسلين وقرماء سرهم وإلى إمات أبواب وإلى مشيخنا في تركات نقشبندي آتياريا كستاني آلي كواجغان الفاتحة Fundamentally, there is no God except the God. La ilaha illallah. 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 Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel. وَلَوْ اللَّهُ قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا الْعَظِيمِ إِلَّا الشَّرَافِ نَبِيِّ صلى الله عليه وسلم وآله وأصحابه الكرام وإلى واقع سائر سلاطين وصديقيون الفاتحة بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. The remembrance of God. In Arabic, Allah. Allah, 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 Allahu, Allah, 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 Allahu, Allah, 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 Allahu, 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 Allah, 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 Allahu, 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 Allah, 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 Allah. حسب الله ونعم الوكيل والله قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. بسم الله. We say Allahu. The who signifies is, that God is always with us. Who, 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 who. God is the ultimate truth and the source of all truth. Haq, 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 haq. God is the ever-living one who never dies. Hey, 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 hey. Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel. Qul huwallahu quwwata illa billah illa al-azim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahu Allah hak. 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 Allahu Allah hai. 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 Allah hai ya qayyum. 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 Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel. Qul huwallahu quwwata illa billah illa al-azim. Calling on the beautiful names of Allah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yahu, Yahu, Ya Daim. Yahu, Yahu, Ya Daim. Yahu, Yahu, Ya Daim. Allah, Yahu, Ya Daim. Ya Daim, Ya Daim, Ya Daim, Ya Allah. Ya Daim, Ya Daim, Ya Daim, Ya Allah. Ya Halim, Ya Halim, Ya Halim, Ya Allah. Ya Halim, Ya Halim, Ya Halim, Ya Allah. Ya Hafiz, Ya Hafiz, Ya Hafiz, Ya Allah. Ya Hafiz, Ya Hafiz, Ya Hafiz, Ya Allah. Ya Latif, Ya Latif, Ya Latif, Ya Allah. Ya Latif, Ya Latif, Ya Latif, Ya Allah. Ya Ghaffar, Ya Ghaffar, Ya Ghaffar, Ya Allah. Ya Ghaffar, Ya Ghaffar, Ya Ghaffar, Ya Allah. Ya Sattar, Ya Sattar, Ya Sattar, Ya Allah. Ya Sattar, Ya Sattar, Ya Sattar, Ya Allah. Ya Fatah, Ya Fatah, Ya Fatah, Ya Allah. Ya Fatah, Ya Fatah, Ya Fatah, Ya Allah. Ya Mujib, Ya Mujib, Ya Mujib, Ya Allah. Ya Mujib, Ya Mujib, Ya Mujib, Ya Allah. Ya Muin, Ya Muin, Ya Muin, Ya Allah. Ya Muin, Ya Muin, Ya Muin, Ya Allah. Ya Mughith, Ya Mughith, Ya Mughith, Ya Allah. Ya Mughith, Ya Mughith, Ya Mughith, Ya Allah. Ya Wadud, Ya Wadud, Ya Wadud, Ya Allah. Ya Wadud, Ya Wadud, Ya Wadud, Ya Allah. Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahim, Ya Karim, Ya Rahim, Ya Karim, Ya Rahim, Ya Karim, Ya Rahim, Ya Karim, Ya Hanan, Ya Mannan, Ya Hanan, Ya Mannan, Ya Hanan, Ya Mannan, Ya Hanan, Ya Mannan, Ya Dayyan, Ya Subhan, Ya Dayyan, Ya Subhan, Ya Dayyan, Ya Subhan, Ya Dayyan, Ya Subhan, Ya Subhan, Ya Sultan, Ya Subhan, Ya Sultan, Ya Subhan, Ya Sultan, Ya Subhan, Ya Sultan. Ya Sultan, Ya Sultan, Ya Sultan, Ya Allah. Ya Sultan, Ya Sultan, Ya Sultan, Ya Allah. Ya Aman, Ya Aman, Ya Aman, Ya Allah. Ya Aman, Ya Aman, Ya Aman, Ya Allah. Ya Salam, Ya Salam, Ya Salam, Ya Allah. Ya Salam, Ya Salam, Ya Salam, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل والحول والله قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. سيدي الرب والسلام على جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى كل أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. على أشرف الأمين سيدنا محمدين صلوات. على أفضل من سيدنا محمدين صلوات. على أكمل من سيدنا محمدين صلوات. صلوات الله وملائكته وأنبيائه ورسوله وجميع كوكه الله محمد وعلى آل محمد عليه وعليهم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته وودي الله تبارك وتعالى سردينا شعب رسول الله أجمعين وأني تبينا بهم بإحسان وأني مجتدين أومدين وأني علماء متقين وأني أولياء صالحين وأما الشياكين في طريقة نقشبندية آرية قد صلوت لهم زكية ونمو الله تعالى أجرات مباركة والله تعالى علينا من بركاتهم وقيوداتهم دائما والحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. Oh Allah, shower your blessings upon the Prophet Muhammad and his noble family. Peace and blessings be upon them all. Upon the previous prophets and their noble families. Upon the Sahaba Ikram. Upon the household of the Prophet Muhammad, especially Imams Ali, Hassan, Hussein, Zain al-Abidin, Jafar al-Sadiq, all of the Ahlul Bayt. The Khilafah Rashideen, the righteous caliphs. The scholars, the saints, and especially my sheikhs, Sufi Abdullah and Maulana Sheikh Nazim. Ya Allah, raise their stations in your divine presence and bless their souls for all eternity. Oh Allah, shower your blessings also on Sheikh Sharif Hidayatullah and all of the Wali Songo, Sheikh Yusuf, Sheikh Adang Badruddin, and my beloved father. Bless their souls and raise their stations in your divine presence for all eternity. Oh Allah, shower your blessings upon my mom, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law. Grant them to be under your divine protection and blessing, forgiveness for any mistakes they've made in life up until this point, and the best of physical, mental, and spiritual health. Oh Allah, grant them to be under your guidance and grace. Grant them success in every good thing which they set their hearts and minds to. And grant them the best of this life and the hereafter. Oh Allah, look after them as they looked after us as children. Oh Allah, shower your blessings also upon my brother and my sister, my brothers-in-law and sisters-in-law, and all of my nieces and nephews. Grant them all your divine protection and blessing. Grant them forgiveness for any mistakes. Grant them your divine guidance and support. Grant them success in every good thing which they set their hearts and minds to. Grant them the best of this life and the next. Oh Allah, shower your special blessings upon my beloved wife, Fiona, and her children, Sophia, Athena, and Elizabeth. Grant her family to be under your divine protection from all evils, Ya Allah, and negativities, or anything harmful, Ya Allah. Grant our family to always be under your divine protection and support. Grant us your forgiveness for any mistakes that we have made over the years. Those that we knowingly have made, and those that we don't even realize, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, grant us forgiveness. Grant us your divine support and grace and blessing in everything which we do. Grant us success in every good thing which we set our hearts and minds to do. Ya Allah, grant us to always be under your divine support. Grant us the resources to be able to look after our family and also to fulfill our responsibilities to a community and to society for your sake, Allah. Allah, forgive us for not thanking you enough for the many blessings which you grant us. And thank you indeed, for you bless us with so much every single day, Allah. Oh Allah, forgive us. Oh Allah, bless our family, support our family, bless my children, Keep them under your divine guidance and support. And let us not be misguided after we've been guided. Oh Allah, grant my children success in their academic lives, in their work lives, and later on in their family lives, Ya Allah. Grant them success in every aspect of their lives. Grant them healing for any issues which they have, Ya Allah. Grant them your divine support and blessing. Oh Allah, bless our family. Oh Allah, bless my friends, especially those friends who have supported me and been there for me at all times, especially Sheikh Rabi and Nisha and their families, especially Rafiq and his family, Sakandar and his family, Devinder and his family, Sheikh Hisham Kabani and his family, Sheikh Mohammed Adil and his family, Sheikh Dawood Ross Owen and his family, Sheikh Mohammed bin Evans and his family, Sheikh Arif and his family, Mohammed Fraser Rahim and his family, Dr. Kashid and his family, Mohammed Abbasi and his family, Adnan Sohail and his family, Yasin and his family, Alamin and his family, Todd and his family, Devinder and his family, Alex and his family, Nakhid and her family, Gavin and his family, Ya Allah, bless Her Majesty the Queen and her family, bless Parkwidwan and his family, bless Ida and her family, bless Dicky and Agus, Iya, Hassan, Ridwan, Wifdi, and all of their families. Bless Hamil and his family. Bless Nudig and her family. Bless everyone, Ya Allah. Bless Sean and his family. Grant him healing and improved health, Ya Allah. Bless Johnny and his family and also grant him healing and renewed health, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, bless all of my friends. Bless Tamina and her family. Bless Manwar and his family. Bless Osama and his family. Bless Haris and his family. Bless Said and his family. Bless all of my friends, Ya Allah. However they're connected to me, whether through the Naqshbandi tariqat or the Association of British Muslims or Nadatul Ulama or the University of Birmingham chaplaincy or my many intrafaith and interfaith networks, social media networks. Ya Allah, however people are connected to me, make this a means of connection through me to my sheikhs, and through my sheikhs and their sheikhs, through to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and through the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu through to your divine presence. And allow this to be a channel through which blessings, support, and guidance may flow to every single one of them, and everyone they're connected to, everyone in their communities, everyone in our society, in short, everyone within our human family. Allah, bless everyone, Ya Allah. Forgive everyone. Whatever difficulties people are facing, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, forgive them. Ya Allah, guide them. We're all heedless and foolish ones, Allah. We all have our shortcomings. And Ya Allah, bless everyone, Ya Allah. Forgive everyone. Inspire everyone. Turn everyone's hearts towards you, Ya Allah. Turn everyone's hearts towards light and love for you and for humanity. Ya Allah, remove the curses of ego from us, Ya Allah. Allow us to transcend our egos. Allow us heavenly souls to transcend our egos, and to be in connection with your beloved ones, that through them, through to you, Ya Allah, through the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Allah bless everyone, forgive everyone. Bless all the different communities and creatures which we share this earth and this universe with, Ya Allah. And inspire and bring about a day when things are better, more peaceful, more harmonious, where human beings can truly achieve full potential for good. For the sake of your beloved Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى ال سيدنا محمد وعلى ال سيدنا محمد وسلم. سيدنا ربي وسلم على جميع الانبياء والمرسلين ولكل الاجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحه. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. إلى حضرات النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وآله وصحبه الكرام. وإلى أنبياء وإلى أولياء كستاني روحي الشاه نقشبند، وإلى الشيخ عبد الله فايز الدغستاني، وإلى زندبيا، وإلى صوفي عبد، وإلى مولانا الشيخ ناسم، وإلى مولانا الشيخ هشام، وإلى الشيخ أداق بدر الدين، وإلى غوستو، وإلى الشيخ داوود، وإلى الشيخ بادشاه، وإلى الشيخ حبيب الله، وإلى الشيخ محمد الدين، وإلى الشيخ نوكباني، وإلى سائر السلاطين والصديقيون. الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. السلام عليكم. بسم الله. I will bid everyone from the UK good evening now, and wherever you are, I wish you're having a blessed day or evening. If you find these videos useful, please don't forget to subscribe to my Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, wherever you watch them. I go live for a Sohbet and Dhikr every Thursday evening. It has been around 6:30. That will change for a few weeks due to the change within the daylight hours within the UK. I'll have to move it earlier or later until it's actually going after Asr instead of after Maghrib, because otherwise I would be doing this zikr too late, and with a young family I can't do a zikr at that time. We have to get our sleep, and I have to send my children to school in the morning. So please forgive. Maybe one day I will do things differently. But please don't forget to subscribe. The recorded videos also are posted on YouTube within playlists for the Sohbets and for the Friday Reflections. So join me tomorrow for the Friday Reflections, and I look forward to seeing you next week also for Sohbet and Dhikr. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.